Last month I made this rolling cart for my outside cooker as part of my kitchen build. Over the last 2 years the work on the terrace has stalled whilst I complete other work in the house, the garden, and of course the workshop. So it is now time to focus on completing the terrace build. Firstly, I need to focus on finishing the wall at the end of the terrace where the kitchen will be. And because I have made the first of the kitchen units, I now know how high this wall needs to be. So I needed to lay an additional course of blockwork to take the wall above the height of the kitchen units. And once the blockwork had dried, I could then fill in any gaps with some formwork and concrete, and whilst doing so insert some steel staples to which the sill would adhere. Not only will the sill finish the wall, it will also double as an outside worktop, or at least that's my plan. Now, one job I've been putting off for a while is levelling the floor of the terrace. There is a couple of dips that means the tables and chairs have a slight rock. Eventually this floor will be tiled, but for now I'm just going to lay some latex leveller. Firstly, I surveyed the floor just to make sure I knew exactly where the most undulating areas were. Use some timber to stop the leveller escaping into the flower bed, and then prime the floor. This is the first time I have ever laid leveller, and time was of the essence here because on the way back from the shop we got caught in a storm and the bag that was in the trailer got wet. The process is simple. You add 6 litres of water to the 25 kg bag, mix for a few minutes, let it stand for a few minutes, and then pour it out into the worst areas, and then use a trowel to kind of spread it around, but yet let it find its own level. The leveller was walkable the next day, and now we have no rocking table. The existing sills on the house look like this. They are around about 80mm thick, cast of concrete with an anti-capillary groove to the underside. So this is what I will be trying to replicate on the top of the wall. So I need to go into the workshop to make some formwork from timber to cast the sill into. The first component of the formwork was 2 pieces 50mm thick, which not only would support the concrete during its curing process, but would act as spacers for the rest of the form. These 2 pieces are mechanically fixed to each side of the wall and are levelled in both directions. Now I decided I would cast this sill before the long one on the other wall because in theory, being smaller, it is much easier. However, I'm a little bit hampered by the garden on the other side of this wall. It is thick, lush planting and laced with really spiky, rambling rector roses. Also, the last time I ventured in there, I came across a snake. The spacers and the faces of the formwork will be made out of this 1x8 timber, which is cut to length and then cut to width at the saw. I'm using an old multi-material blade here because of the concrete residues already on the timber. At the router table I use a round over bit so I can create the piece that will form the mould for the anti-capillary groove. Now it's just a case of screwing all these components together. On the outside, the anti-capillary groove is fixed to the piece that we've already screwed to the wall, and then fixed to that is another piece of inch spacer, and then the upstand, which makes the sill the 80mm deep. I need to make sure that this outer piece is absolutely level before it is fixed. Before I finish the inside of my formwork, I just ensure I have enough rebar, and also that the rebar is fixed into the wall at either end. The long lengths of rebar and the staples that I'd already inserted into the wall are fixed together with wire. The inside vertical formwork can now be fitted, ensuring that it's just over level with the outside. There's about 10mm runoff between inside and outside to shed the water away. I also add some extra stiffeners just to resist the pressure of the concrete. Adding two ends to the mould is the last step. I picked the hottest day of the year to mix the concrete. It was absolutely sweltering. I'm using a 3-2-1 mix here of aggregate, sand and cement. And this was 5 days later. Could I get it out of the mould without breaking the concrete, especially the fragile bits around the capillary grooving? Wow, that was a bit harder than I expected, but I am surrounded by jungle and spiky jungle and that, but it's out and you can see it. I've got a nice little drip there. Actually, I quite like the grey part that the timber's left in. You can see the saw marks there as well. That's a success, I think. It won't be that hard on the others because I can access both sides and I don't have to fight a jungle, so I'm happy with that. These moulds will now be redeployed to make up the sill down the long edge of the terrace, and for this wall at the far end the next step is to finish the woodwork and then render the internal face.